Star Trek the Motion Picture is the movie that made me a science fiction fan. I loved it, and vividly remember collecting the trading cards, owning the lunchbox, and proudly hanging the calendar on my bedroom wall. Released in 1979, Star Trek the Motion Picture emerged during a time when the science fiction genre was finally overtaking mainstream entertainment, thanks in large part to the success of Star Wars in 1977. This environment created an ideal setting for Star Trek, a beloved television series from the 1960s, to make a grand entry onto the big screen. However, the journey from TV screens to movie theaters was fraught with challenges that contributed to its eventual reputation as a flop. Let's go back to the fabulous 1970s and ask the question, was Star Trek the Motion Picture really a flop?
Initiate sequence. Retrotron Entertainment presents
That 70s Nerd. I explore the hidden depths of 1970s pop culture, from movies and television to books, comics, and magazines, music, toys, and technology. Discover forgotten classics and hidden gems you will not find anywhere else with That 70s Nerd. The original Star Trek series, despite its cult status, was not a mainstream success during its initial television run. Its ratings were modest, and it was ultimately canceled after 3 seasons. The show found a more appreciative audience in syndication, growing a devoted fan base that clamored for more content. This demand led to the development of a new television series in the mid-1970s, Star Trek Phase 2. Phase 2 went through several iterations as a series of telefilms, and then as a regular series with a feature-length pilot episode, based on a story outline written by Alan Dean Foster. The sudden success of Star Wars and the growing popularity of sci-fi cinema prompted Paramount Pictures to transform the planned Phase 2 into a feature film. This decision led to a significant overhaul of the project. The budget ballooned, and the script underwent numerous rewrites, contributing to a chaotic and rushed pre-production phase. The pressure to compete with the spectacle of Star Wars meant that Star Trek the Motion Picture needed to be grander and more visually stunning than its television predecessor. Veteran director Robert Wise and renowned film composer Jerry Goldsmith were brought on to the production. Gene Roddenberry would serve as executive producer. The original cast was reassembled, including Leonard Nimoy, who was initially hesitant to take part in the revival, special effects geniuses John Dykstra, hot off successes Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, and Douglas Trumbull of 2001: A Space Odyssey fame were set to work together. The production of the film was notoriously troubled. The budget, initially set at a modest $15 million, skyrocketed to an estimated $45 million due to various issues, including expensive special effects, reshoots, and production delays. The need for groundbreaking visual effects, which were contracted to several different companies, led to inconsistent quality and further delays. The film's director, Robert Wise, was pushed to complete the film in time for its December release, leading to a final product that many felt was rushed and incomplete. Upon release, Star Trek the Motion Picture received mostly positive reviews from critics. Many science fiction authors, such as Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov, preferred it to Star Wars. Audiences and fans were initially pleased with the picture. But there were already criticisms that would come to engulf the project entirely in negativity. While the visual effects were praised, many pointed out the film's very slow pacing, lack of action, and a storyline that some felt was too derivative of old Star Trek episodes. Very quickly, the reception turned lukewarm, especially when compared to the excitement generated by Star Wars, contributing to the later perception that the film was a failure, despite a strong box office showing and initial enthusiasm. While some Trekkers were thrilled to see their favorite characters on the big screen, others were disappointed by the film's departure from the original series' spirit of adventure and romance. The lack of traditional Star Trek themes in favor of grandiose visual spectacles and often ponderous metaphysical reflections left many longtime fans feeling disappointed once the film left theaters. By 1981, the film was being referred to as Star Trek: The Motionless Picture. Looking back with a fresh perspective, I believe it is safe to say that Star Trek: The Motion Picture was in fact one of the most successful in the franchise's history. Let's first tackle box office. Released on December 7, 1979, the film opened to substantial anticipation. Its domestic gross was over $82 million, with a worldwide total of approximately $139 million. These numbers are significant, especially when considering the film's hefty $45 million price tag. The motion picture opened in 857 theaters and set a box office record for the highest opening weekend gross, making almost $12 million in its first weekend. The film beat the 3-day weekend record set by Superman the movie in 1978 of $10.4 million, and the opening weekend gross of the 1978 reissue of Star Wars of $10.1 million. Star Trek: The Motion Picture went on to earn $17 million within its first week. In the United States, the film sold the most tickets of any film in the franchise until Star Trek in 2009, and it remains the highest grossing film of the franchise worldwide, adjusted for inflation. For additional context, it is instructive to compare these figures with other blockbusters of the late 1970s, Star Wars 1977 and Close Encounters of the Third Kind 1977 set high bars for science fiction films. Star Wars grossed over $307 million domestically and $775 million worldwide, while Close Encounters earned about $135 million domestically. While Star Trek: The Motion Picture did not reach the astronomical success of Star Wars, its worldwide earnings were comparable to Close Encounters, indicating a better performance than is remembered. Adjusted for inflation, the movie cost $185 million to produce and grossed just under $600 million worldwide. It made more than triple what it cost to produce. By any metric, that is a success. Beyond raw box office figures, the film's success led Paramount to greenlight sequels, indicating confidence in the franchise's profitability. The film's merchandise also generated significant revenue, further contributing to its overall financial success. This extended profitability highlights an important aspect of blockbuster economics. A film's cultural and commercial impact often transcends box office receipts. Most importantly, unlike some of the Star Trek films, the motion picture has steadily gained new generations of fans over the decades. It is more appreciated today than at any other time in its history. Audiences are amazed at the groundbreaking visual effects, fascinated by its dense metaphysical explorations, and are more willing to accept the darker versions of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy portrayed in the film. The classic white-on-white 1970s sci-fi aesthetic now feels familiar, nostalgic, and retro cool. The musical score stands out as one of the best in the series, and the Jerry Goldsmith theme is now associated with the ever-popular Star Trek: The Next Generation. The label of flop attached to Star Trek the Motion Picture seems to stem more from its troubled production and mixed fan reception than its box office performance and reputation as a film. In reality, the motion picture achieved a significant level of success, reinvigorating the franchise and solidifying its place in cinematic history. It remains my favorite of all the Star Trek movies.